Hello, horror movie fans, and I'm Timekeeper Matt,
I'm Timekeeper Pat.
and welcome to Horror Time Review of the Exorcist franchise, the Exorcist trilogy. We're excited for this one. These are interesting movies, and it's very irrelevant since the new Exorcist has come out, and it is also the 50th anniversary, I think, last weekend of The Exorcist. So it all kind of coincides. So we just figured we'd have an Exorcist week, and this is the conclusion of it. So, how are you doing today, Pat?
Oh, I'm psyched.
Yeah, dude. It's gonna be fun. Both of us just recently watched the first three movies to kind of get a refresher of the three of them. So let's start with the first Exorcist, the original itself. So, what are your thoughts on this film? Um, let's start with like what's your overall rating of this film? Like out of a 10, how would you rate this film?
Um, Honestly, probably about an 8 out of 10.
You know what? Yeah, I think I'd go with like yeah, maybe 7.5. I'll go a little
Just
just
because
because.
nothing's perfect,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
like
No, go ahead.
I just I like um what was I feeling? It's like, remember when we watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or I did the
Mm-hmm.
first time and we all watched
Yeah,
it,
yeah, I
and
remember. Yep.
I described it. You feel so like like feel dirty watching it
Yeah,
almost like.
unsettling. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's kind of not the dirty feeling, but like very unsettling feeling that
yeah.
I got.
I can hear what you're saying there.
And
Yep.
I think that's good because that's more real. It gives you, the viewer, a better feel for it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you on that one. It does give you that feel. It does not give you quite like an unsettling feel like other horror films can, but that probably comes from the era that it came from. Um,
Mhm.
I I kind of had this thought watching it. It's referred to as one of the scariest films of all time, right?
Mhm.
But obviously, out of that, it was made in 1973, so 50 years ago at this point. Um, very far removed from modern horror and what our expectations are with modern horror, what's scary, what's not. I mean, we ourselves don't really get scared of films anymore. That's not really our thing, but we can watch a film and be like, yeah, no, that was creepy as hell, or that was scary, or whatever.
Yeah.
um just there's more of a critical standpoint, being older and watching horror films, at least I think so. If you're a horror fan in itself. But from this film, it's obviously it's not scary, and it's the movie itself too. I did not see this movie until, I want to say, I was in high school. um I did not see this movie, so it never pulled me in as actually like, oh my god, this movie is scary. I never thought that. I feel if I saw it when I was younger, how I've saw like Poltergeist or It or Alien or Jaws or something like that really scared me as a kid. And you go back and look at it and you're like, it's not that scary.
Yeah.
I think it's the same deal with this. I think people who are really scared of The Exorcist either saw it when it first came out back in the day, or they saw it when they were a little bit younger, and that's what scared them of it. Because there's scary imagery in it, and it does, like you said, it does make this mood. And that is what I like about the film. I like that, one, it takes a lot of these older films take it this way, and it's what I enjoy about them. That some do it today, some don't do it, but it's not really a style, and it might have to do with the way audiences are now. But the films themselves do not focus on the actual horror aspect of it until like the very end. You had that with Jaws. You had that with this film, The Exorcist, where like really like I'm looking at the timeline as I'm watching it. I'm like certain quote unquote scary elements happen during it, like her head spinning and her throwing up and all of that. Like those things happen, the bed shaking. But nothing like that. The big Exorcist finale scene doesn't happen until like the last 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Like they don't do multiple exorcisms on her type of thing. Like they do one big exorcism, and I like that about it, where it's slowly builds up to it. I think that's something that really adds that tension and kind of putting yourself into the place of an audience member in 1973. Um, that I can see how that can become very unsettling, especially since there was nothing like that before that. You know, like
Hmm.
a film like Jaws, where it's kind of similar to that aspect, where nothing really gets terribly scary, or nothing's like you don't see the shark or whatever until the end,
Hmm.
but things are tension builds up. That I mean, that came out what 75. This came out 73. Before that, you had Psycho and stuff like that, and some of the Alfred Hitchcock films, but this was the first kind of really, I guess, possession film that you've ever seen. I don't think there, I don't really think there was anything before that, right? Um,
Not that I've seen.
no, not that I know of, not that's famous anyway.
Yeah, no,
Um,
nothing that's like.
and I really don't think so. I honestly don't think. I feel this is the first of its kind, and then always those first of its kinds are the ones that are hard hitting.
Hmm.
And the reason that I give it like I don't know, what's the reason that you give it an 8 and not like, some people will probably listening to us be like, are you kidding me right now? Like you're only going to give this classic film an 8? Like why wouldn't you give it a 9 or a 10? Like why wouldn't you give it a 9 or a 10?
um. So I I don't know. It's hard to say. Well, it's just I guess my opinion. Like I said, nothing's perfect in my world. Like everyone, I feel like perfect ratings get thrown out there for everything.
That's
Like the
true.
next video game that comes out is always a 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
How we've talked about in
Or
the past with like, this is the scariest movie
yeah,
ever.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like a
Which
piece of
this is
crap,
always referred.
or something like that. And
Yeah.
I think if you give it a more honest reading and not a hype,
Well,
then
what's your honest opinion about it though? Like you give it a 7 or you give it an 8. What are the things that degrade it for you?
um
That put it at that not near perfect score?
good, you put it on the spot now.
I
um
am. I am putting you on the spot because I'll answer mine too because I'm trying to think of mine, but that's why I'm asking this question.
I guess there are some weird unanswered things, but I mean, again, it is after a book and a true story.
Sure,
So
but like what, for example?
like, why is Reagan the one chosen to be possessed?
Right. Um, that is a good question. Agreed. Why is it Reagan? I mean, they
And
give
it's not necessarily a negative thing, it's just
negative,
things that I came that's
right?
what
Some
came through my
plot holes.
mind.
Some plot holes.
um
I mean, like, do you think it like? I think well, the Ouija board is what they're getting at, but like, I don't know why it would be necessarily Reagan. Um,
yeah, no, I saw that, and it was like literally like for a minute, and then they dropped it.
yeah. Why the hell is she? Where did Mr. Howdy come from?
I know. All I thought was like
Could you
Tony.
right? But you can imagine this demon like, call me Mr. Howdy,
It's Mr. Howdy.
like this like supposedly badass Pazuzu is just like, call me Mr. Howdy. Like
Oh my
what?
gosh.
Creep, you weirdo. Um,
What
but like, so
else?
okay, so for unless you have more to add, I was gonna say why I would give it like a
There was
7.5.
another. Oh, I mean, another just plot hole was the father Demi. Shit.
Damien,
Damien. Yes,
Damien
that's the one.
Karras or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. His mother died, but
Oh yeah.
when you listen to the party later and Father Dyer is talking about it,
Yeah.
he tells everyone that she died at her house.
I know, I didn't get that either. You're right.
And it really like threw me through a loop. And I, I watched it a couple times to kind of make sure I was
Right.
hearing it right. And I'm like, is it just that he's getting it wrong? And but it really, I really listen to things. So when
Sure.
something goes wrong like that, I'm just like, wow, what?
Yeah. Like I can so the things like no, I agree. And I did notice that plot hole too. Like I don't even remember, maybe because you watched the second time, but I don't really remember her dying or like him saying she died. Like
No,
maybe I
because
missed that
he
part.
visited her in the hospital. She was
Yeah.
on the bed,
And then you just
and
assume she died. But you don't really hear it again until Reagan says it to him or something like that. Like she comes through Reagan,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. So you just like, oh, he died. Okay. We're there now. All right. Um, but I will tell you though, and I think that was kind of my thing is that like, so as much as I praise it for its longevity of like revealing the actual like, exorcism and all of that, I also kind of find it a little bit of a downfall too, and why I rated the 7.5 that I did, is because especially the beginning, and I know the normal complaint is the beginning. I appreciate the beginning of the film, but I just feel and like I know why it's there, and like I
Hmm.
know why they're like trying to like this whole demon thing, but you're just kind of like, well, it just feels like the beginning is kind of just dragging on quite a bit, and you're not entirely sure
Sure.
why
How like
why he's acting the way that he is,
hmm.
and really what this statue is. And then the statue doesn't really show itself until that very end imaging. Just to let you guys know, if you're listening to this, there's highly spoilers in this review, but the it doesn't really show until that like last imagery there that demon's there. But what I'm trying to figure out from it is like, where how did Pazuzu, like you said, how did the Pazuzu possess Reagan? Was this statue, this little statue that they found, was that a spiritual piece that brought the spirit over?
Right.
Like what is happening there? Things are kind of dragging on a little bit for me. Like that just, like I said, as much as I like the aspect of, knowing the phases of the exorcism, him trying to figure it out, Father Karras or whatever, what I think I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
Um trying to figure it out slowly. Like I love that aspect of it. I love that storytelling of it. But yeah, there are certain things in there where you're just like, why is this happening the way that it's happening? And it also kind of feels to me too as it's the build-up's there, but I feel like the build-up's there, but I feel like there are parts where it's just like, how why are we here already? Like it went from Reagan being like nothing to now her face being like completely torn up, and
Hmm.
like everyone's just like looking at her normally. Like she looks like shit.
Yeah.
like
She's been
two
through the ringer a couple times. Like,
right. And oh god, that part in the hospital that gets me, man, where
oh
she's
my
like,
god, when
"Ugh, that was the
oh
one
my
part.
god,
That was the one
oh
part
my
that got
god,
me. Yeah.
stop.
That was the one part that got me. Do you know
I couldn't
um
watch it the second time. I couldn't.
do you know that the one handler, one of the nurses or whatever, the guy was a freaking like a murderer, and he went on to, it's never been proven, but possibly a serial killer, like in real life.
Wait, the guy that was putting the thing in her arm?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he was he was tried and convicted for killing, I forget who, or like what was that, but just one person. But then it was highly speculated that he went after um gay men and killed them. And
Oh
like,
boy.
yeah, I want to say like a hitchhiker murderer, or no, maybe that's not it, but
Is
like,
it one that we heard about
no,
before?
it's not one that I've ever heard before on anything or like gone into, but I did hear this I read it somewhere. Yeah, crazy, right? There were a lot of things that happened there, and like Reagan and the mother, they broke their back on it. Like, apparently, the film's cursed.
Yeah, no.
Said the scariest
I
film.
remember I watched the cursed films thing on
Yeah,
I think Amazon Prime,
yeah.
and Linda Blair talked about how that flipping mechanism like
Mm-hmm.
destroyed her back.
Yeah, and then the mother, who's in the newest one, she has had lifelong back injuries because there was one scene where she was pulled back to the wall, and I guess that thing like literally broke her back.
Oh, that's when the dresser
Yeah.
part, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. But yeah, that's wild. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the first one. Classic. I love it. I will revisit it all the time, at least once a year, just because it is a great film. The performances are great. Um,
The
the uh,
sound,
the set, yeah,
like
I
the buzzing is very
yeah,
creepy and
right,
adds
yeah.
a lot.
There's a lot there that it makes for a great film and a great, just, if anything, just a good film, just to watch. It might not be for, viewers who are new viewers to be necessarily scary. I can see why it's called the scariest movie of all time, because there
You don't
hasn't
want
been
that.
well, there hasn't been too many films where literally have actually had that effect on people, um, that were documented. Now you get like, oh, the scariest film of all time, and it's like, this movie was shit. Um, but The Exorcist actually had those documented events and the time that it came out, and kind of this hysteria, and like the idea of Catholicism was very big back then. Religion is a different thing now, looked on different than it was back then. The idea of exorcism and spirituality, like, I can see why it's called the scariest film of all time. I don't think it necessarily means that there are no other scarier films,
Hmm.
but I do believe that it's probably one of the few films that really affected people on a grand scale that it did. Um, might not be scary to today's standards, but that is what makes it the scariest film of all time. Because unless you can have a film that creates that visceral reaction among the majority of people that go see it. Um, you watch some of the live reactions of people who've walked out the theater back in '73. It's pretty funny. Um,
I didn't know there was, but I'll
yeah,
have
no,
to
yeah,
now.
yeah, no. Look it up. It's pretty funny. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go back in there. Like, people are like interviewing them and stuff. Like, yeah, like, yeah. Uh,
I the there's only that face only appears once,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
In the movie.
yeah. I can't remember
Well,
where it does.
like in
Is
the
it?
kitchen when she's in the mom's in the kitchen
Okay. Yeah.
and the lights flicker or something
Oh,
and it
yes,
shows the
yes,
face.
yes, yes, yeah.
I'm like, is that just a scare tactic? I
I mean,
thought there was something about that, but I couldn't
I don't know if it's a
remember.
necessarily scare tactic, or it's just kind of like signifying the presence of Pazuzu. Um, Maybe it's that, or like the entry of it, because like I said, there's
Oh, that's true.
phases of
Like when we're
and I a
when
lot. That's what the other thing. That's what I said. That's why I like the slow moving of it, because it depicts the phases of exorcism in that film very nicely. And the very end is the full demonic possession. And then, obviously the ending itself is a classic ending of him. Just like, it's such a good ending of having the demon transfer to him, and then him feeling like he has to sacrifice himself, and him jumping off and falling down the steps, like, and the
just
imagery of
like
that, steps throughout the entire movie, like, it's there the whole time
yeah,
in the background. And it's so cool how they do that. I do love that it's always there. And even the fact that you never see her actually kill the director guy,
yeah.
like, it almost like foreshadows what's going to happen to the priest, because she
It
goes
almost
by
makes
it.
me well. Oh, here's the other thing that I was thinking about later on was that what if because you know how the director was like trying to get that the Swiss waiter and
Yeah.
but he was accusing him of being a Nazi.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, I was like, wait, what if it's actually in him first, and then he maybe at the last second knows
oh
something's
you
going on
oh
and
you
has to get rid of it.
oh you doing some fan theory.
Yeah, and then it comes, but once he kills himself, the entity leaves and goes to Reagan
Yeah.
fully
Mm,
to transfer.
Oh, maybe.
And then, I mean, obviously, you said that was the imagery of what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
And then also, when both priests are in there talking to the devil doing the exorcism,
Mm-hmm.
the devil literally says, "This ritual will bring us closer." And he talks to um,
Oh yeah.
Father,
Yeah.
what's his name again? God damn it. I'm
I don't
usually
know.
good.
I'm terrible at that stuff, so don't ask me. What
Um,
are you talking about? Damien?
Damien. Damien.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't think of Damien,
Mm-hmm.
but Father Damien, he looks at him and goes, "It's going to bring us closer."
Oh
And
yeah.
it literally, like, that's what he meant was, "You're going to take me on."
Oh yeah. Good point. Good point.
So, like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Interesting.
that's."
Yeah. All right. So on to the second film. This, can I say, piece of shit?
I think I think they tried to take off like
Okay.
way too.
Okay. So I'll go with the good things first. I like the okay. What would you rate it?
Oh God.
I'll tell you mine. I'd probably give it like a 3.
Oh really? I was gonna be nice and give it a 5.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Um, I'd probably give it like a 3, maybe 4. The reasons that I do like it is that it felt very experimental. I enjoyed the fact that it was trying to flesh out the actual mythology of Pazuzu, although very confusing of how they were trying to flesh it out. And that was
Uh-huh.
the biggest complaint of it. Is it's like, what are you doing in this movie? Like, I enjoyed that Reagan's back. Like, she does a great job. She's a great performance.
Oh yeah.
Um, the priest that follows her along, I mean, it's fine. Um, those were all just, those are good. Like, that facility, the facility with the kids and the testing facility, so weird. Like, I've
Right?
never seen a building like that. Like,
It
what
reminded
is
me of Westworld.
it was like a fun house. Like, what is going on in that place? Um, so, and then like the device of like, the other thing that got me was like, okay, so you're trying to take a scientific approach by having the psychiatrist here, but the
Hmm.
psychiatrist is having you catch people in their dreams or in their hypnosis, like get them out of there, like get on their level. Like, what?
Yeah, like
Like, that's like,
how did you slow down? Like I don't understand how they slowed down the light. Like how do you do that? Was it heart
yeah,
rate based?
right,
Like
right. I'm like, what is going on here? Because this seems like very kind of like medium, majestic, like magic type of thing, but in a scientific type setting. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. Um, and then they have this like weird connection. That's the other thing I was getting. It's like, why do Reagan and this priest have this weird connection where like when stuff's happening to him and he's getting stoned by those people,
oh,
why
that's
is
right.
she getting affected on stage? Like, why does that happen?
Oh yeah, that I didn't even think of that question, but like now that I think about it,
Like,
like I watched it and I was unconsciously thinking like, what the hell's going on right now? Why are they?
it doesn't make any sense, right? And then like where the setting that they are, like, that is clearly not filmed on location, like clearly not filmed on location, like when they go to Africa or whatever,
Yeah,
clearly it's like this like model on a set, like it doesn't even try, like it doesn't even look right, like. And then like the locust thing, and then James Earl Jones being this like guy in a locust, and then he has to walk across this bed of nails,
oh
and
yeah,
he has to find like he has to find him for some reason. The priest has to find this guy to talk to him, but then they end up in a lab and they talk about these locusts, and the locusts have nothing to do with anything.
they're just a
They're
nuisance
just
when
there,
they
and then
get.
they have these weird shots of these fake locusts, like the point of view shots where it looks
Yeah.
like you're flying with the locust.
Oh
Like,
my
it looks
god.
so bad. Really,
um.
really, all I want to talk about is the ending of this film. But go ahead with your you
What
did your rating,
went?
but tell me what. So that's really the only thing I liked about the film, was that it was trying to progress, to trying to develop the mythology. It's trying to be experimental, but I just didn't buy it. There were just so many things that I just like, I can't suspend my reality belief here, my belief, suspend reality here to believe these things that you're trying to do. But
Right.
anyway, go ahead.
So I liked most of the things you were talking about, and then one thing that I think they did at least decently is obviously Reagan's supposed to be some sort of symbol of peace or balance
Sure. Yeah.
because obviously
Hmm.
the doves are everywhere and she's
Yeah. Yeah.
very calm throughout the
Yeah.
whole
Hmm.
thing. So she's bringing the balance, which is cool. I thought that was a nice little
Yeah. Yep.
hook, counterpart to the devil
Yep.
trying to
Hmm.
get. And then I think there was like an seems like there's some sort of connect like eternal door. I want to say eternal. I think yeah,
Yeah.
eternal door open between the demon and Reagan.
That's
So
what I was
there's
trying. Yeah, I was trying to wonder that too. Is that what that they're trying to get at there? Is that there's some type of door open between them all the time? Like, because it's like, well, wasn't she just cleared of the demon, but now the demon's back? Or why are they
or
even
like
doing?
they're saying it can always come back.
Oh, okay. And it's like, why are they even doing these tests on her in the first place? Like, why is this happening? Like, is there
Hmm.
anything actually wrong with Reagan still? But she has like these telekinesis powers and like can heal this kid that can't talk and
Yeah, that was a little weird too, and that's where
yeah.
I got the peace and balance type thing, like the
I do like the yeah, I see what you're saying there, and I do like the idea of like because going back to like your comment on the first Exorcist, I do like the idea of like making her like more of an open minded type of person, like to the point of where she's like a telekinesis type of person. That is how the demon found himself in so easily. Like you're saying, why Reagan? Maybe it was just because Reagan was such an easy doorway to get into and possess and like maybe that's just why some people are possessed is just because they might be more open to other things than others, maybe there's
mhm.
something in there. Yeah, I hear you there. Can we
One
yeah, go
one
ahead.
other one thing that was like a negative kind of, but like I thought it was funny was when the father Lamont is there at the
Mm-hmm.
first when she's doing a little light thing,
Yeah.
and the doctor gets lost in
Yeah.
the vision or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, I literally in my mind the quote in my that I have was, "Hold my beer, I got her."
Yeah.
Like, and he's never seen the machine before, doesn't
Right,
know what
right,
it
right.
is, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, "Nah, I got this.
No, I
I know
got
where
this.
she
I got
is."
this. Like, yeah, I saw that part got me too. I'm like, what do you mean you got her? You just showed up. You literally just walked in to this facility. You have no clue what this machine's doing. And you're just like, I got this. Like,
Nope,
step
nope, I got
aside,
it.
man. Step aside. I got this, doctor. Like, come on, get out of here. Can we
Oh,
talk about this ending? This ending was absolutely off the wall.
out
You
of this
there?
world, out of this world, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, like a completely off the wall. So, one, can we talk about the poor taxi driver?
oh my god, the poor guy.
This poor taxi driver. So, they get into this taxi and they're going to try to find Reagan because Reagan and the priest is, possessed or whatever, going back to the original house. And this guy is told to drive here. He doesn't want to drive here because clearly he knows what this place is.
Hmm.
And then when he gets there, it gets out of control and then crashes into the gate and then turns in the fire and you can see he's clearly dead and no one ever reacts again that this poor dude died. No one. This
Oh
poor
my,
guy, this poor
oh my
guy
god,
is just in
they
the middle of
don't.
this. This poor guy's in the middle of this for no reason at all. He just gets killed. And then no one's like, oh yeah, it wasn't even like she didn't even like go up to check on him. He's just, like dead, just dead,
Just
just dead.
ignored it.
No,
Just hanging out the front window there. Yep.
he could be like dying over there and be like, oh man, I gotta call, I gotta get, well, they didn't have cell phones, but like I gotta go to a house, like see if I can get someone out here to help this guy, and then I'll go help Reagan.
Yeah.
No, 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 that doesn't. She's, and then out of all of this, the part in the the actual room was weird of him fighting Reagan, but I kind of saw the imagery there. I kind of understood what was going on there. But why
Yeah.
why did she burn herself outside?
Yeah,
Why,
that I don't understand like
why did that happen? Why?
there was no reason. Like
Yeah.
why? She just committed suicide. The only one thing that I the second time walking back through, I remembered the doctor mentioning to the Father Lamont that um, Reagan could potentially have suicidal thoughts going through what she experienced.
Okay, but that wasn't
But
Reagan though.
but then but then it somehow transferred into that Sharon the caretaker.
Yeah, she just gets out and she's like, no, I'm gonna do this, like stops him. And then she just
I'm
like,
done.
and she just looks at him and just like burns it. And then she realizes she shouldn't have done it. It was like the demon like possessing her at that moment and stopping her from the doctor going to save her. Like, was that what was happening? Because it wasn't really, it was so random.
There's no
There's no,
telegraph for
no,
anything that was going on
there's no explanation.
for that at least.
And then the whole house is destroyed. Like, what?
And then there's a crowd of people after all the noise and
After all that
commotion.
happens, yeah. And then it just ends. Just
And
basic.
then the two just run over, the priest and Reagan run away, and then the doctor's just like,
I know.
she's like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going on?
yeah. They're like, you can deal with this. And then you can deal with this, and they run away from her. Like, and then that poor taxi driver is still dead, and no one's paying attention to him. I want
Oh
to know
my
what happened to
god,
that guy. That poor guy and his family just got destroyed for no reason.
that was crazy though. Yeah, like that. Not my favorite out of the three. I'll
No,
definitely.
definitely the worst one. 100% the worst one. So we'll move on to the third one. Okay, I, this one I don't rate this too much lower than the original. I'd probably give it a 6.5 to 7. Um,
I'd say seven. Yeah.
yeah, the only reason I would give it probably a 6.5 to 7 is that what would I give it? Why would I give it that? Some of the acting was a little overacted, a little ridiculous at times.
Yeah.
The detective that they had to replace from the original. He's supposed to be the original detective, but the original guy died, so they
Oh,
replaced him.
okay. So that's yeah.
Yeah, he's
Actually, I was wondering that.
yeah, it's supposed to be him, but they replaced him with him. And then I realized this as I was watching. I think the first time I watched it, I realized I was like, why do I recognize this detective guy? His scream is so familiar to me because he gets freaks out at everything. Um, he's the villain. I can't remember the villain's name in Rescuers Down Under. He's the
Oh, the
he's
big
the
cat. Wait.
no. Right, the one in Australia, where it's like he has the iguanodon, or not the
Oh.
iguanodon, the iguana or Komodo dragon pet, and he kidnaps the little
Oh.
boy. If
Actually,
you
you know what?
remember it,
It's been a super long
I
time.
haven't seen it in
I'm not gonna
forever,
lie.
but I used to watch it a lot as a kid, and I was like, I know this voice. But anyway, that's who that was. Weird connect. Weird. Just I was like, it was just one of those aha moments. But
Actually,
yeah, so
there
his
was.
acting, even
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, even though he himself, like, his performance is fun, it's just so overreacted sometimes. We're just like, dude,
Yeah.
like, calm down, man. They just asked a question.
Right.
Like, calm down, like, cool it. Like, I know, like, your friend just died, but calm down.
Yeah.
Like, you were like making this situation in this hospital way worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, but those kind of things got me. Also, the other kind of plot hole to it was like, why is no one taking all of this murder that's going on in this hospital any more seriously than the cop? I can understand that he's getting this frustrated because I can understand that he's getting frustrated because
Hmm.
no one's really taking it seriously. And like everyone in the hospital is like, you've just had like 5 people die on your like one floor. Like, why is no one freaking out? Why is there not a lockdown going on? Why is there not like
Exactly.
any of this? So like there was that plot hole there. It kind of bounced around a lot. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, what exactly is going on? Like, I like this movie, but what exactly is going on? And it took me the second go around to realize that it was really kind of like the Gemini killer was the demon, and the
Excuse me.
allow the Gemini killer to take over Karis or whatever his name is, Damien, after
Hmm.
he died, and used him as a vessel to carry out the Gemini killing. And like, I didn't really get it until then.
Yeah,
My favorite part of the movie, like hands down favorite part of the movie, is Brad Dourif and his performance. Like, he's
very
freak
good.
he's freaking phenomenal. Like,
Hmm.
I it's kind of upsets me that it's not more um acknowledged in the world of Hollywood, because and he himself is just I mean, he probably is very typecasted from being Chucky for so long. And he was phenomenal in Lord of the Rings as Wormtongue, but like, he was great in this movie. I loved his performance. I thought it was a great performance. Just watching him in the jail cell, his performance was outstanding. And some of the scare scenes too. That one scene that's I guess has scared so many people throughout the years that I didn't know was one of those childhood scares for people, is when that really cool sequence when the nurse is in the hallway at night, and like the camera is just kind of set to the very end of the hallway, and you can see the entire hallway, you can see the nurse's desk, you can see where the security guard's sitting, you can see
Uh-huh.
the door that she goes into the hospital room where she keeps hearing the scratches. You think something's going to be going on in there, and it's just really distraction the entire time. And then you slowly see the security guards leave the area, and you know something's about to happen, because everyone has left her and she's the only one on the floor.
Left. Yep.
And then that guy in the cloak or whatever comes out of nowhere and gets her. Like, and then it gets that shot of the headless statue. Like, it's
Hmm.
a great scene. Like, that's probably one of the best scenes in the movie. Like, it's such a good scene. It's such a good setup of like tension. Love it.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was such an awesome scene. So those are my favorite things about it, and all, my least favorite things about it. But yeah, I'd give it. I like that it was directed by the author of the original book. That's another cool thing. And that it ignored the sequel really, and it just kind of goes with the idea of like really going off of the first one, and going off of the tragedy of the first one, and the aftermath of like how people are how the detective is dealing with the thoughts of his
Everything.
friends dying. And so I like that aspect of it. I think it was a good continuation, if there ever really needed to be a continuation of the original Exorcist, which there probably never really had to be, but here we are.
Yeah.
Six installment later. Uh, but yeah, that's what I like about that film. What
I
were you?
so yeah, I give it a like a 7, and I
Mm,
agree with I liked a lot of what you were talking about. Um First thing I'll say that was negative, but I mean obviously it's the time, but like right out of the gate, it was like racist, 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 racist. I was like, oh my
yeah.
god, like what is going on right now? But then it stops. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
the only first few
Yeah.
minutes of the movie, and then
Yeah.
it's done. And I'm not saying that's good. I'm just
Yeah.
saying
That was weird.
it was just
That
weird
was weird.
because you don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was weird.
um,
Yeah. No, I agree.
and then there was going to the famous actors in it.
Yeah.
We had a young, very young Scott Wilson, aka Herschel from Walking Dead,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was wild. Like I was like,
Where
oh
what?
my gosh,
Where? What part was he in?
he's the doctor.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That is crazy.
Um,
Was that the weird connection you were talking about that you said to me
oh
earlier?
no, that I'll
Oh,
say
okay.
that for the end, but
Oh, okay.
and then the other person I knew was in the beginning that was the altar boy. Um, I should have looked up his name, but he was. I know him more for Professor Professorton in Community.
Yeah.
Um, he was from Grounded for Life. He was like the weird brother. I don't know
Okay.
if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the very young in that too. So it was like cool to see that.
Yeah.
Um, so those are those people I saw and I recognized,
Okay.
um, which was cool.
Yeah.
I love the Spaceball reference. May the Schwartz be with you.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That's right. I was like, what the? I was like, that's great, but director must have been a fan or something.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was just like what? Did he seriously just do that?
Yeah, it was funny.
And you mentioned Father Damien from the first one. It was a
Mm-hmm.
nice twist to bring him back.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and at first, when he was down there, it showed him, and then he backed up and then came out as the different person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like, was my mind just playing tricks on me? So
Right.
it actually got me.
Yeah, it was cool, right?
Yeah, and I liked that.
Yeah.
And then I liked the concept of him emanating, like just having his feelers out and using the different patients because of their mental states
Yes. Yep.
to do what he couldn't.
Yeah, the idea of using a catatonic person, I was like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're doing there. Yeah, that was kind of cool. So,
What else did I have down here? Oh, in the beginning, it starts off with the lady he uses in the end, where she's the one in the confessional killing the father,
oh yeah.
the old lady, and the nurse is with her too, which I thought that nurse was going to
Yes.
be.
Okay. So there were some things I couldn't tie, but okay, I got that. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. I really thought that nurse was going to be the one.
Yeah.
For I don't know why. Probably because she was yelling just as much as he was for everything.
Yeah. I know.
It's like
The
you
yelling
two
was
need to chill.
yeah, you guys need to chill out. And
Um,
anyway, I want to hear your connection thing.
let me see if there's anything else first. Okay, so that's it. I talked about yeah going on. Okay, so all right, so I don't know if this is a connection. I tried to look up things to see if there was a connection, but there's not. And
Oh
the Zodiac killer was never caught, correct? If
God,
I'm
you're testing me, but I'm pretty sure he was not.
because that's what um, Gemini Killer is based off of in
Is
the
he?
movie.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Um, so
Oh, okay.
my connection, or at least this is what I thought. So when not Damien, well, Damien is in the cell, but
Yeah.
the cop
Yeah.
is talking to him. I think the
Yeah.
second time
Okay.
he's talking about how it was upsetting to him when he was sitting in the electric chair
Yeah.
because there were so many people he
More
didn't
people to
kill
kill. Yeah,
or
sure.
so much killing to do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yep.
And I instantly went to Sweet Tooth because in Twisted Metal Black, in the middle, like when you get to the middle section of his movies in the game,
Yeah.
he
Mm-hmm.
said
Yep. Yep.
something
Yep. Yep.
similar.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
He he goes, like all good things, it had to come to an end sometime. When they
Oh.
captured me, the only thing I could think, what a waste. All those people I didn't kill yet. And I
Oh.
was like, oh, I was like, did like
Maybe.
they model Sweet Tooth after like the Gemini or like Zodiac? Well,
But
Zodiac
they
they didn't
but they
catch
but
him.
they but they didn't. But you
I don't
never
know. I didn't
but
find
oh,
anything.
but you never know. The creators could be a fan of the film.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
never know. That's
So I
interesting.
started playing Twisted Metal Black, and I'm like, oh my god.
That's funny. That's funny. Um, but yeah, other than that, that's all I got. You got
Yeah,
anything else?
that was a nice ride. I like that.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was fun.
obviously, number two wasn't my favorite, but I
Yeah, but
did
it was
like
fun.
two,
But it was
one, and
fun.
three.
But number two is fun to talk about just because it's fun to
Heck yeah,
rip it apart. But anyway, I mean, it was fun to watch just because it was so ridiculous. We know how we feel about cheesy horror films. So
love it.
yep. But anyway, so yeah, so guys, thank you for joining us for our review of the Exorcist franchise. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed Exorcist week. Yeah, so yeah, just give us follow on socials and rate and review, so we can be known to others. We really appreciate your support and listening, and hope you have a nice weekend, and we'll see you next episode, which will be a Halloween episode. So yeah, we'll catch you later.
All right. And for all you supernatural fans, Christo.
Nice.